Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. I am honestly so incredibly excited to get into today's topic with you because we're exploring a seriously fascinating concept from the Unbreakable table series. Okay, let's just dive right in. Today, we're looking at something small. I mean, it's pretty humble by today's tech standards, but it carries a weight way beyond its size. We are placing a vintage plastic Walkman onto an utterly indestructible, unbreakable table. It's the stunning contrast between an unyielding surface and a fragile little cassette player. And as we're going to see, that clash opens up an absolutely incredible exploration of sound, memory, and motion.
So, what actually happens when an object built entirely for motion meets a surface built for absolute unyielding stillness? Think about it for a second. The Walkman was never, ever meant to just sit there. It belongs in motion, clipped to a belt, clutched in a hand, carried through busy city streets, or keeping you company on a late-night walk. It's a device of rhythm that was quite literally powered by footsteps. But here, placed on this unyielding table, all of that motion comes to a dead stop.
Section 1. A study in contradiction. Motion versus stillness. Let's look at the physical clash happening here.
On one side of the equation, we've got the table. It represents absolute stillness, permanence, and, well, indestructibility. It's a surface that simply cannot be shaken or damaged. No way. On the other side, you have the Walkman. Sure, it represents motion, but it also represents profound fragility. It's just a plastic casing, spinning tape reels, and delicate buttons. Now, the table doesn't react to the Walkman. It really doesn't need to. It simply holds it. But placing those fragile plastic buttons against that completely unshakable surface is exactly where our story gets interesting.
Because by just resting there, the Walkman undergoes a complete transformation. It becomes an artifact. Now, an artifact is essentially an object resting perfectly still, waiting to be understood rather than used. The table completely strips the Walkman of its original purpose, right? It's no longer navigating city streets, it's resting quietly. It morphs from a functional, moving device into a quiet artifact, which gives us this super rare opportunity to truly examine what it is.
Which brings us to Section 2, when motion is paused. Let's dig into the physical artifact.
Now that it's resting quietly, we can actually take a beat to really observe its physical presence, the texture of it. You see the slight scratches that hint at a long life lived, that clear, transparent window showing the cassette rusting inside, and those fragile little buttons that click with so much intention. Every single detail tells a story. And the absolutely crucial point here is that the Unbreakable table doesn't erase those stories, it preserves them. It acts as a stage where time itself is put on display.
And speaking of intention, just think about how you actually operate this machine. Unlike the effortless, frictionless swiping we do on modern phones, the Walkman demands deliberate physical action. Step 1, choose a cassette. Step 2, physically flip it over. Step 3, hold down rewind to find your spot. Step 4, press play. You can literally feel the resistance of the springs. Every single action is physical. And resting on this Unbreakable table, those intentional analog actions feel amplified, like each click matters just a little bit more.
Then we press play. Now, obviously, there's no actual sound in the room during this experiment, but we can all hear it in our heads, right? We imagine the mechanical click of the button, the gentle whir of the tape spinning up, and then the music. It creates a world entirely within a world. The Walkman used to fill headphones and completely isolate the listener from outside noise. Resting there, it becomes a pure symbol of that personal, isolated space. And the table, of course, holds that idea without breaking a sweat.
All right, Section 3, the weight of memory. We're shifting from physical mechanics to invisible elements.
So here's a question for you. Can memory actually have weight? I really want you to actively consider this. We are pushing limits here, but not the physical limits of the table. We're testing the meaning behind the object. Can nostalgia actually be placed onto a surface? Can emotional connections literally weigh down an indestructible table? Well, the presence of the Walkman strongly suggests that, yeah, it can. Because the Walkman isn't just an object anymore, it's a container. It holds incredibly heavy, invisible things. It contains personal space. It contains time. It holds identity. It harbors solitude. It carries songs tied to very specific moments, voices tied to people we know, and rhythms tied to our deepest emotions. When placed on the table, these totally invisible concepts suddenly feel incredibly tangible.
Let's actually map this out. Think about a typical day for someone using this back in the day. You start with the morning commute, headphones firmly on, totally isolating you from the noisy train or bus. Then, maybe you get a brief moment of escape right in the middle of a chaotic workday.
And finally, a quiet night just listening to a favorite track in the dark. Think about how every single one of those sequential moments adds immense conceptual weight to the device. It's not physical weight, it's conceptual. And yet beneath the crushing weight of all those memories, the table doesn't budge. Which brings us to the absolute core thesis of this whole explainer. Some things are heavy because of what they represent. The table isn't just supporting a hollow plastic box, it is supporting the very idea of the Walkman. Not everything we place on this table is heavy in the traditional, physical sense. The real weight? That comes entirely from the representation.
And that profound shift leads us right into our final synthesis. Section 4, the meaning of endurance, the constant surface. You see, the Walkman represents a very specific era, a time when listening to music was an act of intense, undivided focus. It was a time when songs weren't just endlessly skipped with the flick of a thumb, but fully, deeply experienced from start to finish. Carrying music meant you were literally carrying a piece of yourself around with you. On the Unbreakable table, that representation becomes crystal clear. It's a heavy, heavy burden of focus and self-expression. And now, we start to see the table differently too. It's not just an object, it's a constant. It's a universal reference point. No matter what you place on it, whether it's a physically heavy boulder or something fragile, nostalgic, and deeply personal like the Walkman, the table acts as the ultimate constant. It is stable, it's reliable, it's completely unbreakable. It holds the physical object, sure, but it also effortlessly holds its immense emotional significance.
So we land on this entirely new definition of endurance. It's the ability to hold immense significance and emotional weight without cracking or reacting. This completely flips the script. It reveals that the table isn't about testing physical destruction. It's not about smashing things with hammers for fun. It's about understanding true endurance. And the Walkman, in its own quiet, analog way, proves that even the most delicate, easily breakable objects can carry immense significance. Put that on something truly unbreakable, and that significance becomes absolutely undeniable.
So as we wrap up this experiment, we return to stillness. The Walkman remains. It sits exactly where we placed it. Nothing has changed physically. No buttons have been pressed, the tape hasn't spooled an inch. And yet, after exploring its history and its emotional weight, everything just feels different. And underneath it all, the table remains, unyielding, permanent. Through all the incredibly heavy concepts of memory and solitude and time we've just unpacked together, the table has done exactly what it always does. It has held. There are no cracks, there's no movement, there is zero reaction, just pure, enduring presence supporting this delicate artifact.
Which leaves us with one final provocative question to end on today. What invisible weight are you carrying today? Just like the Walkman holds a vast world of memory, time, and identity right inside its fragile plastic shell, we all carry our own conceptual weight. I really hope this explainer challenged you to reflect on the immense significance of your own everyday objects and the invisible weight they and you carry. Thank you so much for joining me, and as always, keep exploring.